Hello, today we were instructed to do our Project 2 Milestone 4 Fire at Will, where we added a multitude of different components to our game, like our game manager, which is a singleton, meaning there can only be one at any given time, to track the damage on overlap different game objects that have that component so that we can later do win and lose component or result at the very end. We do a programming pattern like this so that we can have a easy method of doing a solution to a problem. Like for player movement, we have our controller and our pawn setup pattern where if we have a controller, we will have a pawn that will then do the functions through the controller, which takes in all the inputs, which points to the pawn that actually does the functionality, and how the pawn goes onto the other objects like health, death, and shooter now to do different tasks. But in this case, it's a simple singleton, meaning there can only be one. It's very powerful, in which that means it will only ever be one. It cannot be changed to another, but it comes at the cost of it being sometimes difficult to set restraints for our designers in case they want to be a little crazy and want to make it do a bunch of things we probably shouldn't, or if we set too many restraints, it would be restrictive and then not really do much. But for now, it's just singleton, tracks these so that we can win or lose later. So far, really cool. We were adding our shoot script, which takes in a prefab of bullet and sets it 1 meter away, or 1 unit away from our little spaceship, and so that when I push space, fires a little projectile. It's really cool. We're going to look at that component right here. Right here. So all it does, takes into position, instantiates it with the bullet, which is right here, which we're going to look at that under prefab, isolation, where it has a collider and rigid body like everything else so that it can interact and actually do contact and do damage to other things. Then we have the projectile script, which is in charge of the damage, despawning it, and movement speed. So it does that by when it's created, has a fixed update so that if it doesn't hit anything and just goes off into space, we won't have an overflow of the amount of objects, so it destroys itself after a certain amount of time. Right here for our designers, it moves itself by the same way we do our pawn, where it does transform dot position and then changes that to transform dot up, and it gets it's able to move in different directions because when it's created and instantiated, it gets its rotation from the spaceship, so that whenever I rotate this spaceship and it creates itself, it sets its rotation equal to whatever the ship's is, and so when I fire it here, it's up, the direction is in the direction of that what is it, vertice, not vertice, vertex, or yeah, and so that when I fire and when I move, it inherits the rotational position and sends it off in that direction. So yeah, as you saw, it was able to destroy other objects and by running into them because of those, colliders and rigid body, so that it can actually hit the targets. And it actually adequately removes them from our game manager's list of right here, boom, and boom. It gets rid of them, and then as you can see, it shows off right here that we destroyed them all. It shows great work, soldier, and that if we run into it with our spaceship and die, it should show the lose message. There it is, disappointing failure. But yes, I was not able to do anything above and above for this project, but hopefully I will run into how to make this score actually work, but I'm on a little bit of a time crunch. Sorry, and goodbye.